This is my presentation on the review paper, Risk of Anthrax as a Reemerging Disease and Preventative Measures. Anthrax is a disease caused by the bacteria Bacillus anthracis. Anthrax is commonly found in the soil or even the roots and stems of grasses and vegetation, and it mainly affects herbivores that eat these. Anthrax can be passed on to humans by consuming undercooked or infected fruit products, or cutaneously when a mosquito or other vector bites an infected animal and bites a human. The effects of an anthrax infection. Anthrax infections in animals can often result in death, or it will make the animal sick enough to be less fit and be more susceptible to predation. Aerosol anthrax exposure in humans results in some flu-like symptoms as well as other respiratory complications. In the figure on the bottom left, a chest x-ray is shown of an anthrax patient from the terrorist attacks in 2001. This chest x-ray shows the widening of the mediastinal cavity that results in some respiratory complications such as difficulty breathing and abnormal lung sounds. The figure on the right is a table containing the symptoms of 10 patients from the 2001 anthrax attacks. All 10 patients had fever, chills, and fatigue, and 9 out of the 10 had cough and nausea. How is anthrax dangerous? Anthrax targets immune response systems such as B-cell signaling pathways and PMNs to slow down or paralyze immune response. In the figure below, an experiment was done on PMNs that were either a control or exposed to anthrax lethal toxin. They were placed in a petri dish, and a foreign needle was inserted into the petri dish. In the control group, the PMNs would swarm around the foreign needle to perform for protection. On the right, the PMNs exposed to anthrax lethal toxin were paralyzed or slowed or did not respond. Anthrax outbreaks are common in some ecosystems. Anthrax can be found in the soil around an infected carcass for up to 2 years. And anthrax carcasses increase the amount of nutrients in the soil around a carcass for up to a year, increasing the amount of vegetation in the area and increasing the traffic for herbivores. This figure is from a study done on the soil around an anthrax carcass for periods of 3 years. At 0 meters around the carcass, the soil phosphorus is significantly different than in any other radius for all 3 years. As well as the first year, the biomass is increased compared to the other 2 years. This increase in biomass and fertilizer promotes more traffic among herbivores in these areas, leading to possible more anthrax infections. Anthrax modeling. Using data about the ecology of an area and previous data on anthrax models can be created to predict where anthrax outbreaks might occur, or even where a specific species is most likely to encounter anthrax. In this figure, models are shown of where elk are most likely to come in contact with anthrax in Montana. This study was done following an outbreak in elk in 2015. There is a conservative model, A, moderate model, B, and a liberal model, C. This was done by overlapping 2 separate models of where anthrax is most likely to occur in Montana and where elk are most likely to get their resources. The point of these models is for researchers to be able to determine where an elk carcass is most likely to reside. If they can find these elk carcasses and decontaminate them early, they can possibly reduce the risk of other elk or herbivores contracting anthrax and leading to an outbreak. Infected animals can also infect humans. Anthrax infections in humans can occur in conjunction to anthrax infections in livestock. And in America, the biggest risk area to contract anthrax is a stretch of farmland from Texas to North Dakota. The figure on the bottom left is from a study done in Bangladesh following an outbreak in both cattle and humans in 2011. Each red dot represents an anthrax case in a cow, and the green dots following represent human infections in numbers varying from 0 up to 25. This study shows that one case in a cow can result in multiple cases in humans. On the right, America is mapped for where anthrax is most likely to occur. And the biggest risk region runs from the south border to the north in a stretch that is mostly farmland. This would be where a human case is most likely to occur due to livestock. The anthrax vaccine. The anthrax vaccine is created by using avirulent and recombinant forms of anthrax's protective antigen. The current anthrax vaccine, AVA, otherwise known as Biothrax, costs $900 a vial and requires a professional to administer 5 doses in a yearly booster. The difficulty to administer and the high cost raise questions as to if this is the most effective vaccine. Improvements to AVA are being researched. AVA is known to cause headaches and nausea due to the trace amounts of anthrax toxins such as lethal factor and edema factor in the vaccine. Plant-based vaccines, as well as the vaccine vector-made vaccines, have been tested and show signs of effectiveness in tests on mice and other animals. This figure is from a study done to develop a plant-based vaccine using chloroplast transformation in tobacco leaves. The chloroplast transformation transforms the chloroplast into protective antigen. This is done in young, mature, and old tobacco leaves, and the percent of protective antigen in 1 teaspoon is graphed, mature leaves being the most effective. It was found in this study that 1 acre of tobacco leaves could produce up to 3.6 kilograms of protective antigen in 1 year, assuming that 2 harvests were done. In conclusion, anthrax outbreaks are a potential threat to populations of herbivores, as well as to surrounding human populations. Improvements to the animal vaccines and predictive modeling are key in controlling and preventing anthrax outbreaks. And anthrax has potential to be used as a bioweapon as well, which is why the human vaccine needs to be as efficient as possible.